is Sports Phone KNBR. Sponsored by Industrial Metal Supply on the Sports Leader. Check the live stream on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
2-2. Perdomo gets jammed and hits a pop-up. Fitzgerald calls off Chapman. Fitzgerald makes the catch. And the Giants have done it again against a team fighting for their playoff lives. And the Giants on this road trip have been making it very tough on those playoff contending teams. They win this one by the final score of 6-3. The Diamondbacks lead over the final wild card spot is down to a game and a half, and the Giants just keep on playing some of their best ball of the year.
Yeah, they are. As we welcome you in, all it took was the Giants getting eliminated, right? They do it again here on this road trip. Dave Fleming on the call. We welcome you in. It is Sports Phone KNBR post-Giants game edition here on a Monday night. It's John Dickinson with you once again, and with you here tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday as we shut things down for the 2024 Giants season. And then Bill Lasky's got you covered over the course of the weekend as the Giants will play the final three at home against the Cardinals Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 808 KNBR is the number to join the conversation. 415-808-5627. Got the great Raf Corral in our San Francisco studios, and the Giants do, in fact, get a 6-3 win over the Arizona Diamondbacks to improve to 78-79. And the Giants now 6-1 on the road trip, playing some of their best ball of the year, at least in terms of wins and losses, after again reaching that low point on the season of what was 6 games under. And now the Giants can do no worse, they know, than 6 games under. Even if they were to lose out, they would finish at 78-84, which would be their low water mark of the season. A couple of different times they've been 6 under, but one more win, and that will not be the case. And look, if the Giants can go 3-2 here in the last 5, they could even get to 500 for the year, which I know is not going to make anybody really feel all that much better about the way that this 2024 campaign has played out for the Giants. In fact, you could make the case that watching the Giants play as well as they have, coinciding with their elimination, coinciding with, again, reaching that low point of the year, going back to the weekend that they were swept at Oracle Park against the Padres, you could make the case that it only makes this season all the more aggravating or frustrating. The fact that, oh, well, now they're doing it. Now they're 6-1. And since they were mathematically eliminated, officially, they have won 4 straight. With the sweep against the Royals, and you heard Dave Fleming talking about it, Giants doing it against teams that are very much in the race, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Arizona on this trip that we looked at a couple of months ago and thought, man, if the Giants do find themselves in the race in September, that's going to be an extremely tough stretch and maybe one that does them in. Well, they didn't find their way in the race in September, but they've actually found their way able to navigate that stretch at a pretty high level. And so you look at where things stand right now, and they are attempting to play spoiler against Arizona as the Diamondbacks with just a game-and-a-half lead over the Braves here with 5 games to go. And the Diamondbacks, who at one point were leading that top wild card spot, now it's the Padres basically to clinch here in the next day or two. And the Mets are in the fold there, as well as Arizona and Atlanta, as the Mets, Diamondbacks, and Braves. It's 3 teams who are playing for 2 spots, with the Braves currently on the outside looking in. So the Giants putting a hurt and making the Diamondbacks sweat here with 2 more to go head-to-head and 5 remaining total after they're put the Royals in sweat mode. And the Royals, man, they have lost 7 straight games to fall into a tie for the second wild card spot with the Detroit Tigers, who are as hot as anybody and now controlling their own destiny as far as getting into the postseason. The Twins have fallen out, and the Royals could very well fall out as well. And the Giants playing spoiler against Kansas City. Not so much against Baltimore, maybe in terms of the American League East, But, again, the Giants with the 2 out of 3 against the Orioles, the sweep of the Royals, and then winning against the Diamondbacks tonight. Too little, too late, but 6 of the last 7 and now within a game of 500. And Logan Webb's going tomorrow in what could be his final start of 2024. Webb also could make a start in the season finale on Sunday at Oracle Park. So 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. That is the number to give me a call or shoot me a text here. Sports Phone KNBR on a Monday night. John Dickinson with you here as the Giants do it with the long ball. Matt Chapman, the 2-run inside the park home run. Number 27 for Chapman. Chapman also with an RBI triple in this one, and Chapman's got a shot here with 5 games to go. He's got a shot to get to 30. Now, you got to hit 3 home runs in 5 games, which is plausible. I wouldn't call it likely, but it's far more attainable than I think anybody would have imagined. And, of course, that would be the first Giants player to hit 30 home runs in a season since 2004 when Barry Bonds did it. So a little bit of drama as far as that is concerned, but Chapman continues his hot streak as he has the homer and the triple, and he did it with the glove as well. Michael Conforto goes deep. Casey Schmidt goes deep in this one. And how about Hayden Birdsong? Hayden Birdsong figuring it out here over the last couple of starts after going through a lengthy period of struggles. And so another nice outing to close the year for Hayden Birdsong. But question of the night for the listeners and the viewers. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch as well, and the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line, all of that. Giants question, does it make it all the more frustrating to watch the Giants play well? And you could almost see it coming, right? Like, of course they would start playing well as soon as they're eliminated. And look, they were unmathematically eliminated basically the final weekend of August. And Labor Day weekend, which was early this year, starting on, the 30th and 31st of August, September 1st, September 2nd was Labor Day, 3 weeks ago today. So, I mean, the Giants were done then, and you could make the case they were even done earlier than that, all but done. But, yeah, I mean, I think you can look at their ability. Oh, well, now you do it, and it just is all the more frustrating. So we can get into that. Also, again, I think you always have to keep tabs on the young players here in the final month and now inside the final week of the season. What's transferable? And look, I know the guys in the post-game wrap were talking about it, and Dwayne was joking about all the momentum that a lot of his Cleveland Indians teams from back in the day had, who were just perennial losers in the American League, and how they might play a little better after being close to the bottom of the standings at the end of the year, and you'd think it was going to lead to something next year, and then they'd end up finishing last in the standings again. I am not a believer that any of this matters as far as momentum into the next season. But from a team collective standpoint. But I do think it is, good to see young players and some of the guys in the bullpen who performed well in this one. I mean, Bivens and Miller and Camilo Doval maybe starting to come around a little bit. Ryan Walker's been terrific. I would say all 4 of those guys probably figure into the Giants' plans next year. And so to see them finish strong, I think, is important. Hayden Birdsong is probably going to be a member of the Giants' starting rotation at the beginning of next year. So to see him finish this year strong and be able to adjust back after the league had adjusted to him and he had really gone through some struggles, I do think that is significant. But this team still needs a lot of changes, well chronicled, the changes that need to be made at a number of different positions. So I don't think collective team success matters a lick from this year to next, but some of the individual performances, I think, from some of the younger players that project to be in the plans for next year, I do think that momentum has the potential to carry over. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 if you want to weigh in as the Giants do get the win tonight down in the desert. 6-3 the final. Ryan Walker with another save. Again, Bivens, Miller, Duvall, Walker, all good. Giants played a pretty clean game. And then Matt Chapman doing it with the bat, doing it with the glove. Michael Conforto in what will be his last week as a San Francisco Giant. He goes deep and has a double as well. Casey Schmidt, a walk and a home run in this one. Logan Webb tomorrow as the Giants look to stay hot. 6 of 7 again here on this road trip. And the Giants, after not starting the season particularly well on the road, they've made some hay here toward the end of the year to be a 37-42 road team, which from where they were is a significant jump. And again, I mean, wouldn't it be something if the Giants, for all of the back and forth and 2 under and 6 under, 2 over and 6 under, and then 3 over and then 2 under, and all of that roller coaster ride of mediocrity if they end up right in the middle here at the end of the year, which now is again on the table if they can go 3-2. So 808 KNBR, let's pause here. We'll go ahead and come back. We're going to roll this thing out till 11 o'clock. We'll also get into some 49ers conversation, maybe on the back end of the 10 o'clock hour. But your phone calls coming up, couple of lines open. It's John Dickinson here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
1-2. Chapman, it's a high drive. Left center field. McCarthy tracking. He'll jump and he can't catch it. It's off the wall. And it's going to start caroming back towards center field. Chapman coming to third. Williams is sending him. Here comes a throw. He slides in safely. Matt Chapman with an inside the park home run. It's 3-1 Giants. McCarthy went for it. He jumped up, crashed into the wall, and the ball took a hard carom back towards center field. Pavin Smith had to run forever to get it. Chapman, who can fly, just kept running.
Giants fans, this is your hub to have your voice heard. Sports Phone KNBR. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, Dave Fleming there. Matt Chapman peppering the wall there in Arizona. Giants win 6-3, 3-1 at that point. Hayden Birdsong gets the win. Matt Chapman, home run number 27, also a triple off that wall in the Giants' victory. So he has come back and come back hot from the birth of his daughter. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627. Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line is open. We'll get to some text messages coming up, but let's get right to the phones. And Mark in North Carolina, who's up first here tonight on the Sports Leader. Hey, Mark.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. What's on your mind?
Well, I got to say that replacing the Brandons and Buster and Mad Bum and some others I could mention is a tough sell. But we've got the germ of a team here that we can get behind with Chapman as the core of moving forward. I got really good feelings about this team.
So you think that what they're doing right now matters and or can translate into next year, or are you just independent of that? You just like having Chapman around, knowing he's going to be here for the next 5-6 years.
I am forever a Giants fan. I will always be a Giants fan until I can't understand what I'm looking at anymore as an old man. But at this point, I am convinced that this team going forward is going to be a great team. And it may be 3 world championships in 5 years again. We'll see. But these guys have spirit, and they have ability, and they have desire. And that's all it takes.
Well, they've shown it in the last week and a half. Thanks, Mark, for the call. Mark, an eternal optimist, I would say that. I still think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the offseason for the Giants to get back. Forget about World Series contending level, just to get back to being a legitimate postseason contender. And I know a big cry from Farhan Zaidi and the Giants coming off of last year was the fact that, hey, the team that went to the World Series, 83, 84 wins, that might be enough to, and it was the Diamondbacks who won the National League pennant last year. And the Giants, only 3 or 4 or 5 games off of that. And, now you look at the way this year has played out, and it's going to be it's going to take a lot more to get to that point. 84 and 78 for Arizona last year. And you look at the Giants were, 79 and 80. So, 5-game difference. Well, I think it's going to be at least a significantly higher bar next year. Again, it could wind up being about 5 games, especially if the Giants end up with 81. But in terms of just looking at the standings and where things sit right now, Arizona's already at 87, and they're probably going to win a couple of more. So, even if the Giants end up, let's say, 81, 82, that gap will have grown. And that was the point that I'm getting at here. Giants win 81, let's just say, go 3-2 here in the last 5, and Arizona goes 3-2 here in the last 5. And they end up winning 90. So at that point, you're talking about 8 games that you have to make up, and it's a hell of a lot harder to make those games up. 90 is 90 is a damn good year. Like, you got to be a really good team to win 90. So I don't think this is a nickel and dime, one player here, another player there, make some moves on the fringes. And that's, again, just getting back to being a wild card contending type of a team, let alone a team like the Dodgers, who are going to be 30 games over 500, the Phillies, who likely are going to be 30 games over 500. They won the National League East tonight and got into the postseason. So I think there's still a lot of work that's going to need to be done. 808 KNBR, Mike in San Francisco next here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Mike.
Hey, JD. Love the show.
Thanks.
I agree with you in the way that I think that the Giants need to do a lot this offseason. But I think we have to do some things before the offseason comes, with the Dodgers being as good as they were since, the 60s. With Blake Snell here, I think they ought to work harder on trying to re-sign him now. But this way, free agency starts the day after the World Series is won, and that gives us, if he's signed before them, that gives us some security and creates an allure to the organization, with Buster kind of floating out there in the wind today on the internet as having said something along the lines of, we're going to be spending money, and we're going to be spending a lot of it, and we're going to try to get this thing turned around quickly. I think it's really important to push that now, so people don't pass up on us in the first wave of free agency. Go right ahead.
No, I think it's a good point. I mean, look, I think the Giants do know they have to spend, and they did spend and maybe didn't get the return on investment that they were hoping for from this year's team, basically in the same boat that last year's team was in, just more expensive. But I do think they saw, especially in May, June, July, and August, I do think they saw a more engaged fan base in what was going on and in the attendance numbers and in the excitement level. I know it ends up kind of being womp womp and kind of a dud season when you win 79, 80, 81 games, whatever it winds up being. But I do think there were some markers of excitement from the Giants fan base based on the willingness to spend money in the last offseason. Now, maybe they did it too late. Maybe it was a little too late in the way everything played out. But I think to that point, it's going to take a lot to get Blake Snell if you're going to get him before free agency. I don't know if that ultimately comes to fruition, Mike, but I do think the Giants know that they have to continue to spend and build and not be afraid to make trades and shake things up and really look to, even though this year winds up being a disappointment, have it be a bridge to something better. There cannot be a step back next year, especially if Aronzaidi winds up remaining for another year. I think he knows it. Like, he's got to go all in to try and get this team pushing the 90-win plateau next year, or it's going to be a wrap for him, assuming it isn't already.
Yeah, I just want to add that, I am glad that they are finishing, with that winning feeling right now. And I know the season didn't turn out the way we wanted to, but it seems like they're starting to get a sense of themselves, and they're all, a lot of the young guys, a lot of them growing with these veterans, and that's gonna help them the rest of their careers too. So whatever the future holds, we'll be here for it, man. Thanks for having me on, and talk to you later. Take care.
Yeah, good stuff, Mike. And look, by the way, count me among those that say, do everything you can to keep Blake Snell. I don't think they can do it in the next week or the next month. I think it's probably going to get to free agency, and there's going to be some other teams involved, and I think the Padres are probably going to be involved, and you never count out the Dodgers being involved, and hometown for Snell, Seattle, I would imagine, is going to be involved. But you look at the way his year played out, and if you're going to bring him back, you got to get more than half a good season from him. Like, that's and there's a value in that. And look, I think the Giants thought they were paying for that at the current price point. north of $30 million. But I think making sure that he's locked in sooner, even if it's just a month sooner, can make all the difference in the world, as the Padres saw going back to last season, where the first couple of months were a little clunky, but then instead of 3, he had 4 excellent months down the stretch once he locked in. You got to do everything you can to get him locked in ASAP, because once he does get locked in, he still is among the best pitchers in the game. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Giants win 6-3 over the Diamondbacks. It's John Dickinson here tonight on Sports Phone KNBR. We'll talk some Niners between now and 11 as well. If you want to weigh in on the Niner loss to the Rams, still hard to explain, actually, all day long. I've gone just over and over the different ways the 49ers blew that game in Los Angeles, and it still almost doesn't completely fully register that they did lose the game, because there are very few games where I can recall just not, and I was down at SoFi and covering the game, and I didn't at any point think they were going to lose until the Rams ran the punt back with the game tied and were basically 2 plays away from being in field goal range to win the game off the punt in the final minute. Not at any point. I even thought, Rams tie it, Niners are going to go down and win it. Rams tie it, it's going to go to OT, and the Niners will figure out a way to win it. And then they didn't. And by the way, things have gotten worse for the Niners today in terms of some of the injury news. So we'll get to that as well. But we're continuing the Giants conversation as well. 808 KNBR and Barfighter in San Jose next here on the Sports Leader. Hey, Barfighter.
Still a proud and long-standing member of the Lunatic Fringe. Thank you, the Phlegm. It's gone.
That's a classic, no question.
The best home run call I've ever heard in the postseason. Best home run call.
Well, yeah, considering what it meant, I think a lot of Giants fans would agree.
Hey, man, I just want to, and I was basically when, and I'm going to do it actually a Damon Bruce, my old big, brash, bold bar fighter prediction that I used to do on the Damon Bruce show.
Okay.
And I'm going to, this guy, Mason Black, this guy, I'm predicting this guy is a 21-game winner. I was sitting right behind on his first start in the big league, right behind the catcher's crouch, and this guy's a 21-game winner, man.
In Philly, you were in Philly on that Monday afternoon.
It was in the Oracle Park, and it was his first game. Oh,
got it. Okay.
And I was sitting right behind the catcher's crouch, watching him. And this guy, he had the poise, he had the stuff, And a lot of times people say, "Hey, what is stuff?" It's ephemeral, Stuff is basically he had the makeup of a big leaguer, and that's what you watch in a young a rookie.
Thanks, Barfighter. Yeah, no, and he's talking about the first home start. So Saturday, May 11 against the Reds, and appreciate the call there, Barfighter checking in. 4 1/3, 1 earned run, 4 hits. After he got touched up a little bit in Philadelphia, his first start. Thought our guy Barfighter was in Philly back on May the 6th, but no, first home start. 21 wins for Mason Black. My goodness. I don't know about that in 2025, but I do know the Giants have a heavy belief in his talent. And look, they may find themselves being really dependent on some of these young arms. And Birdsong's one, and Mason Black could have the potential to be another as well. So how do you balance that rotation? I know Farhan Zaidi was on these airwaves within the last couple of weeks saying, hey, maybe they needed a little bit more veteran fortification in the rotation. They had some injuries, gave opportunities to some young players that have performed well at times, but didn't necessarily perform at the highest level in the immediate moment. to keep things on track. And you go back to May and June and all of the opener games, and that really taxed the Giants' bullpen because they just did not have guys who could step in and make starts and go 5-6 innings. So there could be, I think, some vets added into that mix to supplement the Hayden Birdsongs and the Mason Blacks. All right, let's go ahead and take another break here. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. If you want to jump in and join the conversation, how you feeling about the Giants winning 4 in a row and 6 of 7? 4 in a row specifically since they've been eliminated, 6 of 7 on this trip. Does it mean anything for 2025? Look, I'm not shading it, but I don't think it means much. Maybe individually it can, but certainly not from a team standpoint or a collective standpoint. And also some Niner thoughts as well, if you want to weigh in on your concern level for the Niners now at 1-2 and the injuries continuing to pile up. We'll give you the latest there as they find themselves in a glut of 1-2 teams in the NFC here with a couple of home games to come against the Patriots and the Cardinals, and 4 of the next 5 at Levi's Stadium with the 2 that I just mentioned, and then a road game at Seattle, followed by a couple of home games against the Chiefs and the Cowboys. So 4 of the next 5, basically the Niners at home for the next month, aside from one short trip and a short week up to Seattle. So it is go time for the Niners now that they find themselves behind the 8 ball a little bit, more like they were in 2021 and 22 in the early going of the season, not so much the 2019 or 23 undefeated beginnings that saw them reach the Super Bowl. 808 KNBR, it's John Dickinson here on 104.5 and 680 The Sports Leader.
2-0 the count. Lead pitches. Renteria hits a high drive. Deep left center field. David Murphy going back. He's on the warning track. It is gone!
No, I think it's because he's shown me he can. So that's why. I think we play the game just the way we play it regardless. And it's major league games against teams that are all, digging for something. So, no, it doesn't really change as far as that goes.
The nighttime is the right time for Sports Phone KNBR. Let's go on the Sports Leader. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, John Dickinson back here, Sports Phone KNBR, 808 KNBR the number as we keep it going here till 11 o'clock. Giants did win again. They beat the Diamondbacks 6-3, so that is 6 of 7. Bob Melvin addressing Hayden Birdsong and the willingness for himself, Bob Melvin, to keep Hayden Birdsong in, allowing him to finish innings at a higher level. Hayden Birdsong pitching well in this one tonight as the Giants do get the win, as I mentioned. And Hayden Birdsong, you look at his numbers, 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, and 95 pitches as he wraps up what could be his final start. We'll see what the Giants ultimately do. Birdsong could make another start either on Saturday or Sunday, depending upon how the Giants allow for the rotation to go, and Logan Webb, who's going to pitch tomorrow, could make another start in the season finale at Oracle Park on Sunday as well. But all in all, another nice night for the Giants. They do it with the long ball. They do it with quality bullpen efforts and pretty solid defense. So 4 in a row as they are now 6-1 on this trip to Baltimore, Kansas City, and Arizona. We'll get to some text messages coming up here in just a moment, and we will also get back to the phones here as we'll get to Mo. And actually, I do want to sneak in a quick text message from the 707, and I think a lot of Giants fans are feeling this. The scary thing about ending the season with this winning feeling is that Farhan will try to roll out the same squad next season. Yeah, that can't happen. Flat out, straight up. Cannot happen. Like, nothing that the Giants are doing right now should change any decisions that would have been made a week and a half ago. So whatever, and that goes from the top on down the line. If ownership was trending toward not bringing Farhan Zaidi back, this end-of-the-year stretch should not sway that one iota. If there are players that the Giants had basically written off for next year, I don't think a hot spell at the end of the year necessarily changes the calculus as to who's in or not in the plans. It doesn't make me angry if I'm watching it, or it wouldn't from the fan standpoint, seeing them suddenly winning these games, basically coinciding with their mathematical elimination. Like, I could take it or leave it. I'm always you want your team to win regardless, just because it makes you feel good for that night or that week. So I don't think there's really a downside to them winning, but you, at the same time, have to look at everything and not really put anything on it in terms of meaning anything in the grand scheme of things. So, no, I think the Giants know, and I think Farhan Zaidi knows, and I think ownership knows that it cannot be the same kind of team next year that it's been this year, because this year's team has been, in many ways, a different version of last year's team, which was kind of meh and around 500, and a different version of 2 years ago in 2022, and that team that was kind of meh and around 500. So I think everybody knows that when you look at 162, whether the Giants win out and get to 83 wins, which, oh my God, could you imagine? That'd be a 4-game improvement. Or whether they wind up winning one of these final 5 games and have an identical record as the one they had last year, somewhere in between. Big-time changes, I think, still need to be made in terms of the way this team is built. And they've started on that, I think, with the deal that they gave Matt Chapman. Mo in San Francisco is next here on the phone lines on the Sports Leader. Hey, Mo.
Good evening. I think there is some significance in how they finish. Not to change the plans that you just outlined. I think that's correct. But to have, let's say, 3-2 or maybe even 4-1 in their last 5 games, it's not just like gives us a good feeling, which it does, but it points in the direction that they haven't had all year, that they haven't had a winning streak all year, and it says here's what they're capable of doing, and not to rest on that laurel, because I agree with you that they do need some help. And I'm curious, what you think the kind of help is that they do need. I like what they're doing with the young arms. I like that Melvin is allowing them to go the extra inning. He did that with Landon Roop, and he did that with Mason Black, and he's done it tonight with Birdsong. So I think that's good, and I think there's a tendency, there's a trend that's there to go into next season with the younger pitchers. But what do you think they do need to make? It's not going to be a 90-win season next year, I don't think. But I think they'll be in contention.
Yeah, it may not be, and if it's not, we can evaluate why it's not, or even if that's necessary. It hasn't been necessary the last 2 years to get into the playoffs.
This year, yeah.
Yeah, it was necessary this year, no question, because that last team is probably going to get to 90, at least 89. That gets that final spot, depending upon what happens. I think as far as the pitching, I do think they need a veteran. I do think if you keep Snell and you stick with Webb, I think having Birdsong and Roop, I think those guys at the back end and Mason Black, I think that's probably a little too young. Now you've got Jordan Hicks in that mix as well. Is he going to be a starter next year or a reliever? I think they're going to have to figure that out. I think you need at least one more veteran starter, and that's even if you keep Snell. And then I also think you probably need one more fifth, sixth kind of swing starter that can provide depth if you have injuries or if maybe some of the young guys underperform. That's just the pitching side of it. I think they like a lot of their young arms in the bullpen. So I think you maybe stand pat there. You can always end up with an additional veteran bullpen arm. So I'll set that aside, Mo, as far as the pitching. The hitting is where it really is, though. They've got to figure out, I think, first and foremost, if Tyler Fitzgerald truly is an everyday shortstop or if Tyler Fitzgerald is somebody that is more of his bat deserves to be in the lineup every day, but he's going to play a different position, utility type, or whether he's going to be a second baseman and you're going to try to sign a shortstop. But I think that's the first decision. You want Tyler Fitzgerald's bat in there, I think, every day as far as the plans go, but what position? I don't think he's an everyday shortstop defensively, as much as I would want his bat to be in there. Then they have to make a decision on what they're going to do. Jung-Hoo Lee's coming back, so he's the center fielder. And Elliot Ramos, I think that makes him the left fielder for next year. So you look at areas in which you could improve, and offensively it comes down to right field, first base, whatever you do at shortstop or second, depending upon your positional decision on Fitzgerald. And then do you go and sign somebody that's going to be your predominant or trade for somebody that's going to be your predominant designated hitter, or do you rotate that among the players that you have among your regular hitters and just kind of go with the hot hand or one of your bench guys or a combination of the both? Give a guy a half a rest day by having him DH and put somebody else out and play a position on a given day. But it's right field and first base, two historically power positions. I think those are the spots that you have to get some power and look to really improve and get run generators, get athletes, especially in the right field spot, and then go from there, Mo. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I love it.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot, right, Mo? Is that too much?
Well, I didn't have a chance to even say anything to you. I heard a lot of what you had to say. They also need a backup catcher, I think.
Yeah.
And they need. I agree with you about a veteran pitcher, and it's there in free agency, and I think they can if they lose Snell. They have $31 million to play with. They can use that money to try to get, maybe, what's his name? Not Alonso, but the guy on the Diamondbacks, their first baseman,
You're talking about Josh? Yeah, you talking about Bell?
No,
Josh Bell?
No, not Josh Bell. No, Christian Walker.
Oh well, I don't think you're getting Christian Walker.
Well, he's a free agent.
I mean, he's going to have a lot of suitors.
Well, yeah. So Pete Alonso, and what about what's his name, the first baseman for the Cardinals? Why can't I think of his name?
Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah, Goldschmidt. Yeah.
Yeah, I would look at Rhys Hoskins as well. I'm looking at Christian Walker.
And what do you? Yeah, I know. I mean, well, he's out there. That was all I'm saying. They have the money to spend if they don't sign Snell. What about one more thing? I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
There's what they were talking about on the program today, on the broadcast today, was about Wade Meckler as a DH because he has the speed and he puts the ball into play. And rather than have a power DH guy, that he can also play the outfield if he improves his defense, and he has the speed. I was very curious about they were comparing him a little bit to Arias on San Diego and how to use him in that regard. Is that a thing that you would subscribe to?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think that's possible. I could see that, and then that. And then you go from there as far as, filling in that spot with somebody that you feel can be competent defensively as well. So, no, I think that all adds up, Mo. Appreciate you, my man. Well,
thanks a lot, John, for taking my call.
Yeah, no, you got it. Good phone call, man. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. It's JD here on a Monday. Giants do win tonight, 6-3, so they're back to within 1 of 500 as they are 78-79 with 5 games to go, 2 in Arizona and then 3 at home against the St. Louis Cardinals before 2024 is in the rear view mirror. We'll come back, get to some more text messages on the Golden State Lumber and Building Materials text line, maybe a few 49ers thoughts as well. As it is, John Dickinson here on a Monday night on Sports Phone KNBR on the Sports Leader.
That seems a little weird. Chapman drives one. Center field. McCarthy back at the wall. He jumps, and he can't catch this one. It's going to carry him back toward the infield. Around third, Conforto. He'll score. Over to third, Chapman. It's a triple. He did it to Jake McCarthy again. He's wearing McCarthy out. And this time he couldn't come all the way around. Now that would have been something.
Speak your mind on the sports leader. Sports Phone KNBR keeps coming at you. Streaming live at twitch.tv/the sports leader.
All right, we played the inside the park home run for you earlier. That is the Matt Chapman triple. Chapman 2 for 4 on the night, 3 driven in. And the inside the park home run and a triple, that is a hell of a feat. First career inside the park home run for Chapman. The last Giants player to have an inside the park homer was Denard Span. That was August 19 of 2017. And Matt Chapman is the first Giants player with an inside the park home run and a triple in the same game since July 18th, 1953. Monty Irvin, the late, great Monty Irvin, doing it back in 1953. Impressive feat then, and kind of an oddity, but an impressive one here now, 71 years later, as Matt Chapman does it, and the last player in the major leagues to have an inside-the-park home run and a triple in the same game was Michael A. Taylor, who did it with the Nationals in September of 2017. So it was a little over 7 years ago on the calendar. Michael A. Taylor did it, and a little over 7 years ago, the last Giants player to have an inside-the-park home run, which is Denard Span. So some fun notes there as Matt Chapman did it with a bat, did it with a glove. Giants win 6-3 over the Arizona Diamondbacks down in the desert, and they will look to do it again tomorrow as they are making the D-backs sweat as far as the final wildcard spot in the National League playoff race with their 4th straight win. Giants 6-1 against Baltimore, Kansas City, and Arizona. 808 KNBR, we got about 10 minutes to go here on the program. And let everybody know I'll be back with you tomorrow as well here on the Sports Leader following the Giants and the Diamondbacks. Probably get into a little bit more 49ers conversation tomorrow. Wow, I still just kind of at a loss trying to look at the Niners up 14-0, up 21-7, up 24-14 in the 4th. Special teams let down with the fake punt that flipped the momentum of the game, and the Niners really were in for it ever since. The Rams' offense just started clicking. They let Matthew Stafford get rolling after that fake punt, and then the Rams were in the game. And then you get the missed field goal on special teams, the punt return, which I think still was probably the worst of the 3 miscues. Hard to complain about Jake Moody missing a 55-yarder, although he makes it, they win the game. Ronnie Bell makes a catch before the Niners have to punt it back to the Rams, and the Niners win the game. In all likelihood, Moody gets an opportunity to redeem himself, and the 49ers get an opportunity, if that had happened, to dust themselves off after playing a really sloppy game. Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings notwithstanding, but you learn from it as a win and you clean it up and you get back and you try to beat the Patriots and the Cardinals. Now the Patriots game becomes almost a must-win to get back to even before you take on the Cardinals, and then the first of a couple of really difficult stretches that follow at Seattle, where the Niners have had a lot of success, at home against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl rematch, and then the 49ers and the Cowboys at the end of October. And that's another one of those matchups where, I mean, the Cowboys have looked like crap the last couple of weeks. And that's another matchup that the 49ers have dominated head-to-head here in recent memory. So it's not like the Niners can't win the next 5 games and look up, and all of a sudden it's the middle of the year and they're 6-2. And it's a 6-2 that everybody will say should be 7-1. And at that point, you're feeling pretty good about the Niners. But, man, and things got a little bit worse for San Francisco today. Javon Hargrave likely out for the remainder of the season with the triceps injury. Christian McCaffrey went to Germany for another opinion on his Achilles tendonitis. And Brock Purdy's got a sore back. But his MRI looked good, according to Kyle Shanahan. So, sheesh. You think everybody makes it out of the game and is okay, and then the Niners have not been fortunate on the Monday, Tuesday after game injury report updates in the first couple of weeks of the season. So, Brock Purdy, though, I will say this for Brock Purdy, nobody can say that he didn't step up. Yeah, he missed Brandon Ayuk on a ball that was explained during the Kyle Shanahan conference call. Thought it was interesting. Initially, Ayuk, there was a bust in coverage which sent Ayuk deep, and so the initial reaction for Purdy was that Ayuk was not in the spot that he was supposed to be and running the route that he was intending to run on the play that was originally called, but that Ayuk broke it off because there was a bust and did the right thing, and it looked like Purdy didn't recognize that quite quickly enough to be confident enough to hit him with the deep ball that would have been an easy touchdown. Aside from that, and maybe being a little loose with the ball, which has been an issue, the ball popping out of Purdy's hands. Nobody can say Brock Purdy didn't have it or didn't lead in an attempt to have to do more with all the weapons out. Like he brought it. 22 of 30 with 6 drops. 6 49er drops. A couple of them Ayuk drops, the Ronnie Bell one that everybody remembers. But 22 of 30, you got 8 incomplete passes. You throw for nearly 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. All to Juwan Jennings, who was a freaking rock star. But then you waste it. You waste Juwan Jennings and the game that he had with 11 catches and 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bunch of career highs for Juwan Jennings. But Brock Purdy stepped up. But you start looking around at the Niners right now, and they were having problems in the middle of their defensive line before Javon Hargrave was done for the year. They only have one quality linebacker right now, and his name's Fred Warner. They've got issues at safety in the secondary. Isaac Adams being targeted as a corner. Charvarius Ward did not look 100% yesterday. He was attacked and didn't have his best game. So the 49ers have some issues, I think, at safety, at linebacker until they can get Dre Greenlaw back, and the interior, the offensive line, or the defensive line, rather. And that's not even accounting for all of the offensive injuries that they have. So we'll get into a little bit more on the 49ers tomorrow as we likely have a little bit longer of a show following the Giants game and just kind of where things stand. But the Niners last place in the NFC West at 1-2, 3-way tie. Cardinals 1-2 with a win over the Rams. Rams 1-2 with a win over the Niners. Niners have an AFC win only, so that's good enough to put them 4th. As you look at where the Rams sit currently and where the Cardinals sit currently, and Seattle at 3-0 to begin the year with their new head coach. So it's going to be interesting, and Seattle's going to play the Lions next Monday night, so that's a marquee game on the docket for Week 4 as the Niners are going to take on the Patriots on Sunday afternoon. Let's clean up a couple of text messages here to close things out. And I thought this was a good one from the 202. our buddy Will in D.C. JD, I have no problem. Happy to see the Giants play well after elimination, but your comment raises the question of mental approach, and broadcasters think they're relaxed and playing better because of it. Also, when it was clear by midsummer they were taking third strikes, failing to drive in runners, why wasn't a new approach undertaken? Who does the mental approach coaching? But, yeah, no, I think I'll speak to the first part of that as far as there is a sense that, well, yeah, now that it doesn't matter, they're just much more relaxed. They're having these at-bats that they couldn't have when it was meaningful. We'll never know, but it's plausible. And then Will and DC adding some positives. Ramos, Fitzgerald, Harrison, Birdsong, Roop. Yeah, I didn't mention Harrison. I should have mentioned Harrison in the young pitching. So, I mean, they have Harrison, Birdsong, Roop, Black. Can't have the bullpen overworked as it was this past year. 5.59, first baseman the Giants need is Goldie. He can be a 2-year and out. Waiting for Eldridge. That would be something. The all-time Giant killer comes to the Giants for a couple of years. I think my guy would be Rhys Hoskins if he winds up opting out. Sacramento guy, grew up a Giants fan, hits bombs. That would be my stopgap option. 415, 49ers. Have the most cap space in the NFL as of now. What are their options to pick up new players before the trade deadline? Look, if you use some of that cap space, then you can't roll it over to next year. And so if you use some of that cap space, it winds up putting you in a worse position next year in terms of those that are going to have to go. You might have to make a couple of more tough decisions if you use some of that space. Now, that being said, the Niners have been willing to do that and do some restructures and the things that are necessary to be done to make that happen. The Niners have not been afraid to make deadline deals, and it's helped them a couple of different times, including a couple of years ago when they got Christian McCaffrey. It helped them when they went and got Emmanuel Sanders. So I think the 49ers have shown a willingness to be able to do that. And so I think they would do it again. Defensive tackle, linebacker, safety. I don't think they need anybody at this point offensively, but those would be the two spots, or the three spots, I guess, defensively to keep an eye on, because I'm not sure they have the internal options other than Dre Greenlaw if he comes back, but he's still going to be a ways away from a return. All right, that'll do it. Raph, great to have you, my man. Great to be with you again. Let's do it again on Wednesday night, my friend.
Absolutely. And I want all the Giant killers. I want Arenado, Goldie. Let's get
Sign them all.
Max Muncy. You know, I mean, we'll be good.
Okay. Max Muncy, Nick Ahmed, right?
Yeah, we'll throw Max Muncy in the ocean, too. So just
Good stuff tonight, Raph. Appreciate Overnight Dave as well. Anybody else helping out tonight? Who else was helping out tonight?
We also had Kyle Chung.
Okay.
He kind of filled in with some of the cuts. So.
All right. Like it. Kyle Chung, appreciate you. Kyle Haar will be with me tomorrow. And we'll be back after the Giants take on the Diamondbacks. So for Kyle Chung, for Raph Corral, I'm John Dickinson. We'll talk to you then, right here, KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.